Welcome back to Persona 2 Innocent Sin. We gotta get revival items, and I'm debating whether I should leave the dungeon or not to do so.
Rumor has it that you should probably do it, but rumor has it that I don't think you're gonna do it.
Rumor has it you might spoil the joke.
Oh, what am I, Huel?
No, he just drives him into the ground. Anyway, this is a new enemy in the game. This
Heyo.
is, I don't remember their name, but it's the Kiyohime. They're essentially based off of kind of a shrine maiden, while also having properties of basically like a dragon as well. So, like old Japanese mythos is very interesting when you read into it. It's like, it's just interesting.
Yeah. It's interesting, but some of it's also a little ridiculous and dumb bullshit.
Yeah, and I like that sometimes.
Yeah, well, yeah, don't get me wrong, I think there's always a place for, this is really like the Kojima style. You're over-explaining this a lot, but there's entertainment in that. Same degree.
Yeah.
Which would explain why Legon over-explains things sometimes, so I guess it makes a lot more sense, and maybe I shouldn't grill him as hard for it. Well, to be fair, I haven't, but still.
Yeah, I don't really care.
Yeah. But, anyway, is there anything combat-wise that's special about the Kiyohime?
Nothing really in particular that I know of, all except for the big thing being that it's, basically, it uses fire as a primary element and is weak to water because of it.
Nice. Oh, a typing matchup in Persona that makes fucking sense. Thank God, what a rarity.
Yeah, what about...
Nuclear's good against lightning. Why? Fuck you.
Physical is good against starfish. Okay, Persona 5.
I mean, if you punch anything hard enough, I'm sure you can beat it, but... Oh well. That's just me.
Yeah, sometimes it's just weird more than anything else. And something I want to get into here with the battle system in particular is how I just like being able to switch personas around on all my party members, since all of them are... well, pretty much all of them except for the starter personas are usable by everyone in the party, and that's just a fantastic thing that I love to utilize in battle, but at the same time it makes it take absolutely forever because of it.
Yeah, it's one of the things that the newer Personas kind of lost and yet fixed in it's a weird workaround where, not a workaround as much as it is a weird improvement change that also kind of loses some aspect of the strategic aspect of the series, but at the same time it also makes battles a lot faster because you don't have to spend time going through all your stupid Persona just to get to where you want, you know?
Yeah. And
for this very special attack that might not even kill.
And I don't mind going through all the complex menus for all this, where it's like this huge complex strategy, because unlike other Persona games, you can see the turn order on the right, and it's like you can change that if you want in Persona 2, and I love being able to do that, because that adds so much intricacy to the game. It's so nice, I think.
Yeah.
And in modern Persona, it's just, it's this person's turn now.
Yeah, it's this person's turn now, and I'm the only one that can change Persona now instead of this whole party.
Yeah, which I don't mind the whole only you can change your personas thing, because you already have multiple party members with multiple different persona affinities anyway, so it's not too horrible to me compared to losing something like the turn order, which is already, it's like, I like how much this isn't horrible, but I kind of liked it before, but I'm not going to lose sleep over this kind of change.
Yeah. With like, excuse me, I'm still a little bit sick. Whenever they do get around to Persona 6, you know, maybe nearly a decade down the line, or who knows, 5 years down the line, mostly because I think Persona's become more of Atlus's bread and butter than the original Shin Megami Tensei at this point. I would like to see that groan is warranted, but I'd like to see a return to the Persona 2 style, number one, I'd love to see a big shakeup. Just in general. I think that the Persona 3, 4, and 5, the 3 style onward has reached a peak and a limit, the way Persona 2 has with the original style. So I think a shakeup is in order. But two, I'd also like that shakeup to go back to that everyone can mess with the personas and have different matchups and setups, you know? Go back to more of the strategic element.
At the very least, have that in there as well, because that's honestly one of my favorite parts of classic Persona, and specifically Persona 2. It's just everyone using different personas. It's like, I love that aspect, because it adds so much more intricacy and strategy in order to into the battle. It's not just, oh, you can only go about, like, oh, this, like, say, this enemy is weak to lightning. I guess I'll just have to get Ryuji. Oh no, he's out of MP. Now I have nothing. Now I have no way to beat this thing with its weakness.
Yeah, and that's kind of the problem with 3, 4, and 5, where you've taken away the ability to give yourself give your partners persona because they have the S links, and that's very tied to their social links and their story modes, you know, storylines. But I think you also you ran into the similar.
I think that there's. Sorry to cut you off there, but I think that there's a point where you should cut out story elements just for fun gameplay, because at some point it just gets to be more of a hassle than fun.
Maybe. I think you can keep that story gameplay stuff. You can keep that storyline and development going. Excuse me. You don't have to tie it to their personas or their gameplay as much. And I think they found a way to solve that problem of lagging the battles a little much, but at the same time, you still have to switch party members. You still have to do that stuff in battle, or you still have to just slog it out because you don't have that party member early game. So you take one problem and you slightly solve it, but then the same problem persists in another area of this development.
You fix a subsidiary of one problem while also not entirely removing the problem itself, just mitigating it slightly.
Exactly. You're just mitigating it a little bit and making it a little more polished off the base, but it's still there.
Yeah. So many rocks that are being thrown at the party members. It's like, this is kind of what we're talking about. The battles can drag on a while, and like, yeah, they're fun, but they take absolutely forever. Especially when it's 4 or more enemies.
Yeah, this is why Legon, and to an extent me, like to say that Persona 5 is the most streamlined for a good reason. It's like, even the longest battles in Persona 5 probably don't rack up your hour count as much as Persona 2 can.
Yeah, like the longest battles in Persona 5 take about 10 or so minutes at most. Maybe 5 is the average for the longest battles in Persona 5. But Persona 2...
Random encounters, not bosses, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, random encounters. In Persona 2, it's more like the longest it can take is 15 to 20 minutes.
Right. And I think Legon made a very apt comparison the last recording session we tried before we made a mistake and it worked. In that Persona 2 battles are like playing a game of chess. So, like with chess, it takes more time to put those pieces into the right spots to put them in play.
Yeah,
even
comparing it to modern Persona,
encounters.
It's like you're going from playing chess to playing checkers.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like with chess, it's more strategic because you have to get to check. You know, you don't get any. You're given the pieces. This is what they do. They never change in that regard. But it's just getting to that point with the tools you have on both sides that is the game. You know. Whereas checkers, you know, you can get to the end of the board and you get a special advantage. And Persona 5 and 3, 4, and 5 is very much like that, where, yeah, you get the same amount of strategy, but not the same amount of strategy. You get a similar amount of strategy, but you also get a ton of advantages along the way.
Here I'm just starting to think, okay, I should probably go ahead and leave the dungeon so that I can get revival items. But then, it's like, I want to make sure that everybody's on their starter personas first. But then at the same time, it's like, after a while I start thinking, okay, you know what, I'm already almost done. There's only 5 floors here. I'm already at floor 4. I may as well just finish the dungeon, because that'll probably go faster than me trying to leave. because I have to go through floor
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, and all that, because as I'm showing here, I can't leave instantly through the elevator.
Yeah, I think sometimes in RPGs as well, there's just a point in the dungeons where you just have to go for it and just beat it, you know? Try
Yeah.
with your best. And I think that's always some of the more fun gameplay, though, because that's when a lot of your improvisational tactics can come out.
Yeah. At the very least, an advantage Persona 2 has is that you can save literally wherever you want. You don't have to go into a save room or anything like that, which is... Yeah, it's a thing with old RPGs, and I get that kind of part of it, but at the same time, I don't mind save rooms too much. It's like... That's something we'll definitely get into in Persona 5, because there's pros and cons to both of them.
There's pros and cons to both the design. Like here in just Persona 3, 4, and 5 in general, there's a lot of like railroading almost, in that they don't want you to complete certain dungeons early, or they don't want you to just burn through them.
They want you to go it this way and do it in this specific strategy. It's not just, oh, go and do this, and then that, and then it's like this other thing in whatever order you want. And it's... I'm not fine with that, personally, but I know that some people kind of aren't. And
I think
to go back to the game for just a second, the reason that I showed the ending of that last battle there was so that I could basically show Persona Mutation and basically lead into that about Personas in this game. Because in Persona 2, you can have multiple Personas you get from the Velvet Room, and you can have them do fusion attacks and all that. You also have a random chance of the Persona itself getting extra stats or a mutation once it's at the max rank, because Personas have ranks and levels both being independent from each other.
Drop something. Sorry.
When you get the Persona to max rank and do a fusion attack with it to get its stats up, sometimes it can also result in access to a Persona mutation where you can basically change it into a completely different Persona with different stats and all that. And it's like this, you started with a pixie and it'll change into something else later on, which I will show off later in this part.
It's the precursor to Persona Fusion that will be in later in the series.
Yeah, I guess you could say it's like the precursor to it, but at the same time it's not it doesn't have the whole one Persona goes into the other, because there might be something that's more similar to Persona Fusion in this than the Persona Mutation.
Is it something that we haven't seen yet? Because I can't imagine there are many more.
It's something that I haven't I'm pretty sure it's something that I haven't shown off yet, at the very least.
Yeah, because I'm sure there are not many more mechanics that can be introduced into a game that we're well halfway done with.
I wouldn't say we're halfway done, more a third done with it. It's like we're nowhere near done with the game, because the introduction of the Masked Circle is about the first quarter, like where the first quarter of the game ends.
Yeah. Well, we'll hopefully be done by the time Persona 5 comes out, though, but we may have to move the schedule. I'm pretty sure we'll be done
by the time Persona 5 by the time P5 Royal comes out.
Yeah, but if things start lagging along, we might consider moving it to the 3 slot instead, just to get a move on, you know? But we're not at that point yet, so... I think the worst things that have happened is that we've had a break because of Halloween Fest, which Legon was stubborn about, even though we could have fit it in there. And, well, just the occasional messed up recording sessions, but, you know, those should be eliminated by now, so... We should be full steam ahead with it, going on forward.
And this battle is almost over, because it's like there's really nothing else left here. It's just, hey, there's this chicken guy who's... I forget what he's weak to. I think it's fire. Cuff the chicken.
It almost sounded like you said cuck the chicken. I was like, don't do that. No.
No, don't do that.
Yeah, you don't want to cuck the rooster. He might get mad at you and then start kicking your ass. Like, you know, Cuckoos in Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, speaking of, we do have a link to the past on the cards to start that soon, so do look forward to that, since there's really nothing happening here except battles that you've already seen before.
Wow, way to spoil the game, Legon. Jeez.
Okay.
But yeah, we do have that on tap because we finally decided to pull the trigger on it because this month we have nothing really planned. We're not
And
going to finish
there was
anytime
also
soon, so.
something that came up suddenly. It's like, hey, we have these things on the table that we planned to do anyway. We might as well do them now.
Yeah, they kind of fit into the perfect break glass in case of break glass in case of scheduling problems. So Link to the Past was one of them. I believe we still have enough Alan Wake to go on for most of the month, don't we? Maybe 2 weeks.
I'm pretty sure the most we have left is just enough to finish off this week, maybe. Either way, you guys will know when it goes up.
We'll have something planned regardless. That one we won't spoil.
Yeah.
And say, hey, we're doing this because you mentioned the game series.
Hey,
Jeez, Alex,
what else do you want to talk about? Cooking a chicken?
Yeah, you know what, man? There could be some interesting conversations to be had with cooking a chicken. You know how intricate it can be sometimes? You really got to make sure it's not pink in the middle, you know? And you got to really spice it right. And then fried chicken is some of the best. Man, it's great.
Yeah, it really is. So sometimes actually sometimes it's surprising how good store-bought chicken can actually be.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I definitely prefer a good homemade fried chicken myself. I think it tops everything. But
yeah, homemade is the best no matter what, unless you don't know how to cook.
But fast food and store-bought are good alternatives compared to you don't want to get a store-bought cheeseburger, you know?
No.
It's just bad. It's bad. It's probably put into a microwave and it's not worth it.
You do not want microwavable sandwiches. Those are just horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, the bread gets so, rubbery and nasty.
And that isn't even going into the quality of the meat and whether it's actually real or not.
Yeah.
And this is a durable chicken.
Whereas you can taste this is a tough chicken. You can't eat this chicken.
Yeah. Too tough.
You ever hear you ever hear something as tough as a $2 steak? This is as tough as a burnt chicken. Ugh. $2 steak, couldn't imagine.
Yeah, I couldn't either. But that is pretty much the final battle that I'm showing off within Giga Macho, because after this, there's just the gate to progress, and then that's really it, and then it's just story. We don't have any other side tangents to actually go on then.
Yeah, we have to talk about the game for once? Holy shit.
Except for this battle here, where it's just, I'm going to go ahead and basically negotiate with these two so that I can get tarot cards. Because at this point I am also feeling a little bit pressured by the enemy level. It's like my personas are feeling a little washed, I guess.
Suffocated. Yeah, a little washed. Yeah, they're getting washed up, you know. And it's always a good. I always think in any Persona game, you get to that point where you just start needing more. You need more juice in the tank.
Yeah. And how do we convince it with motorcycle noises?
Right. Well, who can deny the motorcycle noises, man?
I don't know, but you must have a pretty strong will if you can.
Then again, there are not many personas in this game with a strong will to defy you. Once you pretty much get into their good graces, they all pretty much go with you.
Yeah, and even then it's the ones that I get on the bad side of that really want to attack me, and I try to avoid that whenever possible. Because, I mean, for good reason.
Right. You don't want to lose, obviously. You don't want to lose them.
That, and I also just kind of don't want to fight some of them at that point.
Right.
With that said, let's just go on to progress.
Right. Well, real quick, that's the good thing about, being able to fight every battle in the game is that you have enough strategies to get yourself out of a lot of battles anyway. So there's no point in fleeing.
This is Meteor Masa, who is like he's the jerk who owns like he's essentially the prick who's on a radio show all the time. Whoop-de-doo. And next to him is Ginji Sasaki. He is a record label owner who hit it big on a one-hit wonder, and he's also a pedophile. So,
okay, we're back.
Of course, you know, Ginji Sasaki, the pedophile, would have more than a little bit of an interest in Lisa Silverman, considering that she is
Did you say
foreign.
Did you say pedophile?
Yeah.
I thought it was paedophile.
I'm sorry.
Inside joke.
I'm sorry.
No one's
I
gonna
thought
get it.
I thought Lisa was the one that didn't know English.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Now it's just Alex, even though it was originally Legon, but whatever.
No, that's a joke name of Pediophile.
Pedi. So instead of liking kids, he's just a real stickler for being a petty son of a bitch. Gotcha.
Yeah, that too. So what they want to... So they're basically interviewing Lisa, and because of this, Maya basically gets her in there. It's like, hey, try and get information about the masked circle out of him. But at the same time, she's like, hey, who do you like? And Akichi, being the self-lover he is, thinks that she's talking about him, and then tries to make it all about him. And then they argue with their pew-pew noises.
Their pew-pew noises, yes. They play spaceman laser guns to settle on a teenage argument.
I mean, that's what they're doing. Because the limited technology.
Pretty much. You say that, but sometimes the limited technology leads to some really charming aspects. Such as motorcycle noises and pew-pew.
Vroom vroom. So, of
Vroom,
course,
vroom.
the new song that they're going to have Muses sing is based on the Joker game. Of course, because, you know, that's popular and it's getting people killed, so
We'll
let's
never
make
see
a
it coming.
song about it. And the interesting thing
Right.
about it, too, is because of cultural appropriation, and Lisa being a white girl in Japan, they all think that she can speak English, when in reality, she can't. Because her daddy, Steven Seagal, never taught her. Because he's like, I want you to be a proper Japanese lady.
Steven Seagal was too much of a weeb to teach her actual daughter a language she might need to know someday.
Pretty much.
Shocker. Shocker.
So where are they going? The outdoor
Also-
concert hall in Alba. So that's where our next destination is. And we don't have to do any cryptic rumor monger trail following to find it. Fortunately, that's really one of the low points of Persona 2, I do think. It's like, it's so little direction compared to other points of the game. But since that's the next place that we
Right.
should go for story, I am going to instead go to the Velvet Room and get myself some brand new Personas. Because, again, the ones that I have now are a little low level.
Right.
And one of the things that I'm wanting...
always-
One of the things I'm also wanting to do here in the Velvet Room this go-around is get essentially replacements for my starter Personas, because at this point they are really not as good as I hoped they would be throughout the rest of it, because at some point, like,
Sometimes
yeah,
you
you
wanna-
don't want to get
you wanna-
rid of
you
them for
wanna-
the benefits later on, but at some point it just gets to where it's like, you should keep
Yeah.
them and you shouldn't use them at this point, because their other
Yeah.
Personas are just way better in every way.
It's the Final Fantasy IX conundrum where a lot of this gear is good for gear later on, so you don't want to sell it and get rid of it. But at the same time, you know, the raw
You shouldn't
damage
use it.
values are still there. Yeah, the raw damage values are still there and still a problem.
You shouldn't use it, but you should keep it for something later. It's like, at some point, that just gets to be annoying rather than endearing.
Yeah, a little bit. I personally like the idea of keeping early equipment for better equipment later on. It kind of shows an actual sense of progress, but I can see why it's annoying to some people.
So what I'm gonna start with is, I forget what Persona I start with, but I do want to get at the very least, another one with an Earth element, so that I can have the multi-target Earth fusion spell, because at this point I only have one persona that can use Earth magic, and that is Lisa's, and considering what just happened a little while ago, I don't have any Earth magic because of that. Because Lisa isn't in my party anymore. So I need two personas with Earth magic, one to replace her starter persona, and another just for fusion attacks. So I am going to get a Robin Goodfellow and a Tengu as well for both Wind and Earth. Because I am going to mutate Pixie later on in this visit, because like I did show off earlier in this part, I did unlock the mutation for Pixie.
Right. That's good.
And there are also some other personas that you can only get via that you can only fuse with incense cards in your inventory to actually do it. Like one of them earlier that I wanted to get but couldn't because I didn't have the proper card. But it's like there are not many personas that do that, and the ones that... And speaking of the cards, there are also skill cards you can put on the personas. And what a lot of people do, I may have said this before but I don't know, is putting Medairon on Pixie, which if you don't know Persona lingo, Medairon is a party-wide full heal, and since mana usage in Persona 2 is based off the persona you have equipped rather than just the skill itself, you can put Medairon on Pixie, have a full heal for your party for the low cost of 2 MP or SP.
Yeah. Yeah, and skill cards are something that have pretty much stayed a fixture in the series regardless. Not as much in 3 and 4, but no, in 5 they're definitely a lot better.
Yeah, I just think that the fusion that the persona like just the way you make personas in 5 is done much better than in this one.
No fucking way. I have to say this. Sometimes Lego and I will play games in the background. You guys won't believe this. I just got into a fucking tournament with Mewtwo King.
Oh, jeez.
And I checked on the stream just to make sure that it's legit, and he's in the fucking tournament. Oh shit. All while I'm recording a Let's Play. What the hell? And I'm up next against him. Oh fuck. Well, oh well.
Well, it was nice knowing
shit.
you.
Well, yep, I can't wait to get wrecked. Oh no. What a random occurrence though, man. Wow.
That is insane.
Welcome to fighting one of the best Smash players in the history of the franchise online.
Featuring Persona.
Persona part online. Oh no!
And speaking, and I'm probably just gonna put like a clip of that on. Like I'm either gonna link the clip to that on here, or I'm gonna actually edit that together later on and put that in this part at the end.
Yeah, maybe find the stream archive and find Wheat versus Mewtwo King. Oh god.
Yeah. And then like,
it's the same color too.
Unfortunate, but now that that's done, we're gonna call it apart for Persona 2 today. If you enjoyed the little clip of Smash Brothers, then yay. But we'll see you next time when we continue on with this and rescue Lisa from the clutches of Pedi Phile.